As online entrepreneurs, we're super busy juggling a million different hats between sales and conversions and email lists and growing our audiences, figuring out what offers to sell. It's a lot. So when it comes to content creation, it can be a little bit hard to stay on top of the trends and figure out what actually works, which is why in this video, I'm so excited to dive into 3 simple steps that you can start incorporating right now to create the best content strategy on the internet right now. Hey, welcome back to Kim TV. I'm Kim Jimenez, and if we're meeting for the first time, I just wanted to say welcome to the channel. Here we create content strategy videos, marketing and business strategy tutorials that'll help you up-level your game when it comes to online business. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely consider subscribing. So listen, the first thing that I want you to consider as you're building your own content strategy is focusing on mastery versus shiny objects. And while there's a lot of noise on the internet, a lot of people telling you that the opportunity is on Instagram, or that you're missing out because LinkedIn is hot, or that you need to be blogging, doing YouTubes or podcasts. It's a lot, right? And so the first thing that I really need you to internalize is the fact that you don't have to be everywhere. And sure, there's an incredible opportunity like never before on the internet right now to grow a thriving brand. And it can be really tempting to try to be everywhere at once. And I want you to be everywhere at some point. But right now, the opportunity is in mastery, right? Mastering that one channel, that one platform that really resonates with you and where your audience hangs out is so important. If you study some of the best content creators on the internet today, you'll notice that they're not everywhere all at once from the beginning. They start in the specific channel, they master it, they explode their audience growth, they really figure out how to hack the algorithm, and then they move on to maybe one or two supporting channels, right? They're not everywhere all at once, and if they are, it's because they've already grown to the level where they can afford a team that edits, batch shoots, right? Creates all this amazing supportive content that is required in order to push consistently on multiple channels. So before you have crazy FOMO, commit to that core pillar channel, that channel that's going to allow you to express your gifts in the best way possible, but then also is the place where your audience is hanging out. And I know this can be tricky sometimes, right? Because there are so many different factors and so many shiny objects when it comes to marketing on the internet. But again, if we kind of filter through those core channels and think about, okay, where is my audience at? And then what is that format of content that I know that I can stick to, that I can be consistent, that I feel really passionate and comfortable around? For me, that was always video. So video is a no-brainer for me. I can pump out content like a machine. I love it. It's what I do every single day, and it's where I thrive. So I knew that YouTube would potentially be a really good area, right? A really good channel to post my pillar content. And then of course, it happens to also be where a lot of my target demographic is. Now, YouTube is a search engine, and this is what a lot of creators don't talk about. It's the fact that you can't just pick pillar content or a pillar channel that doesn't have discoverability. And so SEO is so important, and being able to search, right, for specific terms and being active in a supportive channel or your main core, channel that has the ability of search is so critical. So I always recommend to my clients, and I talk about this in the Business Lounge a lot with members, is that you need to be in a platform that's also searchable. So if you're going to pick, for example, audio, right, that can be one of the main formats, video, or the written word, right, long form content, then you need to have a supportive channel that also gives you the ability of search. So for example, if you're gonna write a blog, that has search integrated right into it. So you're kind of ahead in that sense. But pairing it with something like Pinterest might make a lot of sense, where you have like 2 powerhouse search optimization platforms, right? Where you can get really discovered. Now, YouTube is also an awesome place because it does offer the option of search. And while I wish that podcasts, right, had that ability, we're kind of late in that section section, right, of that segment. So whenever you're using something like a podcast, make sure that you're also repurposing that content, getting it transcribed, right, and creating a blog around that episode so that you can leverage the power of search. The last element of this step is to commit, right? Make a promise to yourself that you're not going to get distracted. Sticking and committing to one core platform is so important for consistency, to make sure that you're building a great audience, right, that trusts you and sees you as that go-to person in your industry. And more importantly, because it takes time, right? Content is the long game, and we want to be ready for making that long-term commitment so that we see results. Step number 2 in your content strategy has to be something that you've probably heard about a million times, but are probably not implementing. And I see this all the time. It's so rare for me to see someone who's doing this right? And it's just making sure that you are batch creating your content and doing so strategically. Now, before you freak out, listen, you probably tried batching before, maybe it hasn't worked out. It's about experimenting and testing with your own specific workflow. So the videos that you see here on this channel, we don't shoot them every single week because that would be extremely time consuming, right? So I sit down, I shoot 3 or 4 videos at a time, and I batch all of those specific tasks, right? One day I'll sit down and I'll write the script for the next, 6, 9, 12 videos. And then the next day I will batch shoot all of them so that I can stay super ahead of the game. I didn't do this at the beginning, right? At first I was just trying to get like 2 videos out at the same, one time. And then I started increasing that process and like perfecting that workflow and figuring out, okay, what works for me? What's holding me back? What is that obstacle? And kind of perfecting my own batching process. And I kind of upgraded to, oh my gosh, I can do 4 videos at a time. That means that I have, and so much more time. And then I graduated on to batching 1 month worth of videos at a time. And that was like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing, right? That gave me like an extra 3 weeks of just being able to focus on my business and other areas that really moved the needle for my brand. Now we create all of our content 3 months in advance, and that gives us plenty of leeway to really focus on other projects. Now, if you're a solopreneur like I was when I first got started, it's really important that you start delegating some of the smaller tasks in your company as you become profitable, right? So if you're pre-revenue, you gotta just suck it up, hustle, figure out the best optimization, and just focus on delivering the minimal viable product, which means that you're just gonna focus on the bare bones. You're not gonna try to put a bunch of, bells and whistles. You can add that later on when you have a team or when you're profitable, and you can actually outsource some of like maybe fancy editing, right, for your podcast, or a really cool custom intro for your YouTube channel, or fancy social media graphics, right? Suck it up for a little bit, hustle, set up a system, focus on minimal viable product, which means that you're not going to try to do everything at once. You're going to focus on very specific tasks, and you're going to have a system to get those things done. And this is something that you can apply across the board to all of your content creation, right? If you are maybe creating content on Instagram, schedule a couple shoots once a quarter, right? And create all of your photos so that you have those in a photo bank, and you can use those throughout the next 12 weeks. You can do the same thing with your blog posts. Maybe you're creating, blog content as your pillar content. That means that you can sit down and iron out maybe 2 or 3 days out of the month and get all of your posts figured out and written and just totally polished, right, for the next 12 weeks. You can do that same thing with individual tasks within that specific content workflow. So for me, for example, when I'm done, right, batching all these videos, I then give myself a full day to just go through those videos, upload them for my team, make sure that I'm creating the right thumbnails, make sure I'm taking great thumbnail pictures, make sure that I am kind of writing the description for the YouTube channel, right, for those videos. Anything that I can do in bulk, I will batch. And that is really helpful because it groups like activities. I'm not jumping from one video to the other, kind of doing all things haphazardly. I'm actually being intentional and batching like tasks together, and that really works for me. And the third step is to give your content new life. And this is where I see most entrepreneurs totally struggling and missing the mark. If you study larger corporations that are focused on media, right? So if you look at, for example, newscasters, or you look at, let's say, really popular magazines, you'll notice that they will run the same story, right? Especially if it's breaking news, over and over again. They'll have multiple journalists cover it from different angles. They maybe even bring in experts that can talk about, different opinions and debate over a topic. And that's a brilliant way of allowing your content and giving it to new life, right? Allowing it to live a little bit longer. So that's so critical and so important, repurposing your content, but doing it in a way that's strategic. And I get it. A lot of people have these like mental blocks around repurposing. They feel like the content is just monotonous and it doesn't feel fresh. It doesn't feel like, it's something that you should even be posting again. And the reason that a lot of people feel this way is they don't understand, right, the consumer face. A lot of times we tend to be a little bit too self-absorbed as business owners. We think that everyone's paying attention to everything that we do. They're stopping their whole lives to check out that Instagram post or read our tweet or check out that new article we posted on our blog. And that's just not the case. People are busy. So there's a very small percentage of people who subscribe to your newsletter that actually open it, right? There's very little amount of people that actually follow you on Instagram and check out every single post that you publish. So it's important to really look at, repurposing that content and publishing it more than once. And it doesn't need to be in the exact same format in which you created it originally. And I think this is the key. For example, right, whenever we're creating our content, we'll start with our long form content like this video. This video that you're watching right now will then get turned into a full transcript automatically through a tool we love and use. It's called Temi. I'll link it in the blog post that accompanies this episode. And then that'll get kind of formatted into a blog form by my team. And now we have a video and we also have a blog. That blog will actually be kind of summarized right into a newsletter. We'll kind of take a couple teasers. We send that out on a weekly basis to our email list. And then we'll take that newsletter that we wrote, we'll pull out one of the core concepts, and that'll become our Instagram post. And that Instagram post is actually either a thumbnail photo that we've, published or created or kind of splintered from this video, or it'll be a little snippet of this actual video, the part that I feel like people resonated most with, and that we will publish immediately on our Instagram as soon as the video goes live. Now my team will also go in and pick out, about 3 or 4 quotables from that blog and turn them into tweets. We'll also turn them into Facebook posts, and we'll also chop this video into 3 or 4 major takeaways. We'll publish that over the course of the next 30 days on our Instagram account, also on Facebook and on LinkedIn. And that's our core repurposing strategy. It's something that I'll go into more detail in a future video where I'm going to show you a few content creation hacks that I think will really make a difference for your business. But before we get into that, we really need to look at the big picture strategy, which is why this video is going live before that next one. Giving your content new life is so important. It keeps your audience engaged on that specific topic. It helps them really understand, right, what you're trying to get across that specific week or that month. And keeping it together as a theme is important, and you don't necessarily have to think that it's going to be like the same exact content. It's going to be totally different content. I'll show you even more examples on that on the next video. But for now, keep in mind that repurposing your content and giving it new life is critical. The last thing that's really important is also to keep your content fresh. And this is what a lot of creators, kind of go wrong in when they're repurposing their content. You should also create content on the fly, right? So it doesn't have to be time consuming. But for example, if Instagram is like that supportive social media channel, right, that's supporting your pillar content, that's the one place where you're kind of really focused when it comes to social, then that's something that you can create every day. Maybe you post a quick story, right? Or maybe 2 or 3 times a week, you kind of fill the gap with your repurposed content and share something different. Maybe share a behind the scenes, maybe share a cool tip, an insight, a tool, a resource, a quote. There's so much that you can create, right, that doesn't have to be repurposed, that'll take you 5 minutes to come, put together in a day. And that way you don't feel like you're slaving away constantly. If something happens in your business, you still have a backup of content that's scheduled and ready to go, and you don't feel that pressure of always being on. So I hope that content creation strategy made sense. I hope that it's resonating with you, and I hope that you took away a complete plan to start taking your content to the next level, really focusing on mastering one or two platforms, not being everywhere, right? Repurposing and batching. And those three key elements, I believe, are the key to creating an incredible timeless content strategy that really takes your brand to the next level this year. So hey, let me know. This is the question of the day. I'd love to hear from you in the comments section below. How are you implementing any of these concepts that we mentioned in this video? Let me know in the comments section below. If you have any questions around creating a content strategy that I can answer in follow-up videos, please let me know. I'd love to hear from you. This is a hot topic, something that we all have, challenges around, but it's so important that we master as we grow our online businesses. Of course, if you want to dive in deeper, check out my full-blown program. It's called the Content Calendar System. I'll link to it in the description box below. Check it out. It's an entire system of how to plan and organize your entire content, whether it's newsletters, blogs, social media, in a smart and strategic way. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.
I feel the warmth of your skin. I feel the touch of your hand.